Hello and welcome to the FPL Fan Show. Running a couple of minutes late, but we are here and we're going to go through all the hot topics for Game Week 32, revealing our teams and answering the questions that you want answered. Nacho, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, mate. It's good to be back. Obviously, kind of getting into that stage now where life's getting a bit of normality. I've had the mullet chopped. So as you can see, I'm about 10 stone lighter now, which is brilliant. So I wanted to tie it up and put it in a jar, but they weren't letting me have that. So I'm looking forward to talking about FPL now instead of my mullet.
You're looking very smart there, Nacho, I have to say. We'll come on to the haircut later, but I think, I think we should crack on and go straight into kind of the hot topics for kind of Game Week 32, discuss the things that people want answered. Firstly, how was your Game Week 31? How did the wildcard go?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. I think a lot of managers obviously fired the wild card in that game week. And although typical wild card fashion, we were expecting 100 plus points. That's never, ever going to happen, is it? But I had 68 points. I was pretty happy with the returns.
Yeah, that's good. I had 68 points as well. So
Did you? I think we had similar teams, to be honest. I think I copied
Nah,
yours
you did.
from the
You
last
knew
stream.
what I was doing. 68 points. So I'm at 50k, and I believe you're at 10k now.
Yeah, I don't want to brag, mate. I don't want to brag, but yeah, I'm currently around 10k, I think. So it's going okay.
You hear that,
Going
people?
okay, yeah.
50k, 10k. That is why you're here. We know what we are doing, so trust us, and we're all going to get up to the top. But yeah, I mean, let's jump straight into it. So Nishat is saying Captain Jay Lings. Well, let's talk about Jesse Lingard, because the guy is killing it every single week. Let's take a step back here. Let's talk about West Ham as a whole. Now, should we be targeting their assets right now?
Oh man, yeah, this is the thing right now with them is that I was for so long kind of ignoring Lingard as an asset. And I think the typical kind of opinion right now on Lingard is that he is hugely overperforming and his kind of returns aren't going to be sustainable. But I do think that's the case and an argument when you are looking at an asset which is probably about 10 or 11 million, because the money needs to be justified on a player. But when you've got a player like Lingard, who's currently sat at, I think it's about 6.8 million, something around there, in a team that's chasing for top four and are clearly like on form, I really do think that he's an asset that, even though some people might feel that they've missed the boat on, I still think that there is potential for him to continue returning. Now, I know that we shouldn't be judging future performance on past performance, but I still like West Ham as a team, and Newcastle away, this is still a great fixture for them. So I really do like Lingard as an option. I'm so glad I brought him in on the wild card.
Yeah, good job I convinced you, You know.
Yeah, you did. Honestly, you really did, because my tune was very different a week ago.
You're lucky, Nacho. You're lucky you listened. But yeah, no, we had that conversation that we said, is Lingard going to be affected without Antonio? And I think actually, like we said, it just means the onus is on him to attack and do well.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to affect him too much. I mean, West Ham are practically scoring 3 goals a game. So if you don't own Lingard, I would definitely bring him in. It's a good fixture. They're in great form again for Champions League. He's cheap. Everything you want in an FPL asset. Okay, so the big topic this week is obviously that Tottenham have a double game week. So who are first the essentials?
Yeah, so I think everybody knows the main guy and, one of the main sort of assets for probably now into the back end of the season. That's going to be Harry Kane. We're looking at a player in a double game week where you want guaranteed minutes, of course, goal scoring potential, and of course, set pieces is always a bonus. And he ticks all of those boxes for this current double game week. So although Tottenham look in absolute disarray, don't they? They look awful right now under Mourinho. I always put my money on Harry Kane to deliver in a double game week. And I think if you don't own Harry Kane, even though they blank in game week 33, I think you need to be bringing him in, because his ownership is going to be absolutely ridiculous this game week. And then obviously going forward, just make do with putting him on the bench for game week 33. But yeah, I think Harry Kane is definitely the essential in this team for sure. I'm not sure what your thoughts are outside of him, mate, because I know Son's quite an interesting pick. What are your thoughts on him?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right on Harry Kane. He's an absolute must-have. And I think if you still have the triple captainship, I think now is the time to play it. Everton, I have to say it, aren't looking too great defensively, and Southampton definitely are not looking good defensively. Whereas on Everton, it looks like Mina will probably be out, and Everton have so many injuries right now. Kane has quite a good record against Everton, so definitely captain. And if you have the triple captainship, I would play it on a Harry Kane this week. I think I think he'll do well. Yeah, apart from Kane, I mean, Son is the next obvious one. And I think you've got to have him because he is the most likely player to score or assist outside Kane. Got the goal against Man United. It's going to give him a bit of confidence. He's high up. He looked in the United game. He looked like he was playing higher up again. And I think Bale out actually helps him. So I think he's been told to get forward. So that's a good sign. So Son is a must.
I think just on Son, I think very much a case of obviously came back from injury, got his goal in game week 31. But when I was looking at the numbers, because I do think with Son sometimes I think he's overperforming. But in his 3 games prior to his injury, he was posting some really good stats. So just for those who are obviously interested in stats, non-pen XG plus XA in his last 3 was 0.98, 0.99 and 1.97. So effectively, he is actually still a very, very dangerous player. And I think over the 2 games, he could definitely do well alongside Kane. So yeah, I agree. I think he's a great asset still.
Nacho, the more stats you have, you just chuck them in, mate. Honestly, the people love it. And it was also in your FPL fan favourites article on our website, which, again, was fantastic. 11 of the best players this week. So I won't ruin it and tell everyone who they are. Have a look on our website. Check out the 11 players. There's good picks in there. And I've put 1 or 2 in as well. So
appreciate it. We go check it out.
So the third Tottenham pick is where things get really difficult. The first question is, do we even need a third Tottenham player?
Yeah. Again, this is very much a case of, so if we were looking at Spurs as a general, like how could we bring in triple Spurs? I think it's totally dependent on this double game week why we are actually even considering triple Spurs. So first and foremost, I think managers should definitely tread carefully because obviously with the blank game week 33, don't get yourself in a situation where you possibly already have triple Man City. Then you get yourself on triple Spurs and you don't have a squad for game week 33. So really don't put too much emphasis on this third Spurs asset if you already have 3 Man City assets. So I think if we're looking for a third asset, the only one I'll be considering right now is my main man, Reguilon. I think.
You sure that's how you say it, actually? You sure?
It's got to be Reguilon, hasn't it?
Well, you called him Reguilon, so just saying.
Thing is, though, I'm trying to be a bit more proper now. So yeah, Reguilon is going to be the one, but Reguilon for the guys who know. But I think he's got to be the pick. I think Davis is still ruled out injured for a few game weeks. I think he's definitely both attacking potential and I would love to say clean sheet potential, but we know with Spurs right now that they really aren't delivering on that front. But I like him as a third pick. But again, I would not be busting the team currently to bring him in. I think only if you're able to run run with the game week 33 blank in your team.
I think if you currently own 2 Spurs assets, Kane and Son, which most people do, I would not bring in a third asset. I think the only place you could cut it, you could look at Lucas Moura in midfield, but there's not enough there. Defensively, the defensive stats are not good enough, and they're conceding pretty much every single game. Reguilon, you don't even know if he's going to start, and then Lloris, I mean, no one should be making a goalkeeper transfer at this part of the season, to be honest. So I'm just going to say, I don't think you should be bringing in a third Spurs player, and for the reason you said, you might have a Man City player. We've got to think about the next game week. Man City aren't going to play, Spurs aren't going to play. If you have, say, 4 players out, you're down for that week. So I think go with Kane and Son, but I don't think you need any more Spurs assets. Do you agree, Nacho?
Yeah, I think like James said in the chat about do I fancy Tottenham left back? I do fancy him, but very team specific.
I thought you had a girlfriend. I didn't know you were like that. Fair enough. All right.
Hey, we're both very attracted to left backs. You were Digne,
don't start me on Luca D, Nacho. For anyone who hasn't seen the clip Nacho did, he did in his car. Do you want to tell them what you said, Nacho, in the same voice if you can?
No, I can't even remember what I said, to be honest with you. But I know that I actually can't remember what I said. But I know that it wasn't kind.
He was slagging me off, everyone. And do you know what, Nacho? You give it every week, and the real thing here is you're like, oh, I'm Nacho. I look like Jack Grealish. I have so much hair. Oh no, what a problem. What about as bold as him, mate? Yeah, all right. Yeah. Oh, so much hair. Look like Nacho Monreal. Fucking shut. What a muppet. So everyone in the chat,
basically, for anyone
destroy Nacho.
Reference, head over to Twitter right now and check out the clip because I felt bad at the time, but after that comment, I feel like it's totally justified. This is bullying on camera right now.
There's more coming that way, Nacho, don't you worry. But yeah, carrying on. Anyway.
But yes, to answer James' question and just to conclude on that one, I do think that If you have the luxury to bring in a third Tottenham asset, then yeah, of course, target the double game week. But I really wouldn't be busting your team to bring him in. We really can't guarantee any Tottenham clean sheets right now, and you're basically bringing them in for the attack and potential, which I don't even think is necessarily going to be there.
Yeah.
So
How do you see the Tottenham game against Everton and Southampton? I think the game against Everton on Friday, I could see them winning. I could see a kind of 2-1 or a 1-1, and then I think the Southampton, it'll be just like a 1-0 or 2-0 because obviously they've got the League Cup final afterwards. So I don't think there's going to be loads of goals there.
yeah, I was going to say this actually. I think this is a good little topic for you to have a little bit of an opinion on in terms of Everton as a team right now. So going forward, I think there's a lot of opinion that they possibly might be a team on the beach right now, probably, not really much to play for. Is it a game that you expect Everton to, kind of roll over? And for the back end of the season, do you think they're teams that we should target? Because I still think Everton have still got a lot to give. I think they're not the sort of team that are going to get rolled over each week. They're still a solid team, and I expect a tough game against Spurs. I think Ancelotti's not going to let them just kind of die off until the end of the season. But equally, I would expect Spurs to beat them. Just a bit too much quality, especially with like Harry Kane.
Yeah, I don't think Everton are on the beach right now. I think more the issue is they have more injuries than practically anyone else, and it kind of doesn't get spoken about, but it's true. They have like 12 players out. I mean, the bench, they had just so many youngsters on, and I think it's more that affected them. They are fighting for the European spots, so they're definitely not on the beach. And it is worth saying that Everton always do better against the better sides. We see this all the time. They'll lose against Fulham, Newcastle, draw against Palace. They'll beat, United, Chelsea. So it could go either way, but I do think Tottenham will win it. I think it'll be about 2-1. So, yeah, I don't think they're on the beach. I think it'll be a tough game. Could be a draw, but I wouldn't expect too much. So, yeah.
Okay, you heard it here first.
Nuclear Atom said, did I miss the virtual fight between you two? Oh, it's a cracker. I absolutely destroyed Nacho, so well worth going back a bit and watching that.
I will take the L there. I will take the L.
But talking of form, Nacho, are you eating on the stream again?
I apologise, I'm late. I'm late to
He's
the party.
eating on the stream, everyone.
Hurry.
Unbelievable. You can't. Does anyone want to be a presenter on this show? I'm putting out auditions.
You couldn't live without me.
Well, it's true. It's true. Okay, so players in form. We need to talk about the better Nacho, Ian Nacho. Yeah,
that's a very good segue.
Oh, what a segue! God, I'm good, aren't I?
That is very good.
Yeah, but Ian Nacho, I've been seriously impressed with this guy. Now, tell me about, from a stats point of view, he has delivered, hasn't he? Because the stats he's been posting have been pretty good. So it's not like a shock. He's been getting on the box. He's been getting shots off. It's not a shock to see him doing so well. But 2 goals. I mean, if you don't own him, surely you have to bring him in now.
Yeah, I think for those managers that are currently sat with the likes of Calvert-Lewin, who's obviously been ruled out injured, or you're looking for, like, I still think he's almost a bit of a differential. He's not in the 20-30% brackets. He's still going to be around the 11-13% ownership. So he's really a great player to bring in. And to be honest with you, there's nothing to really disagree with him. He's got 7 goals in his last 5 games. He's got like 29 points more than Jamie Vardy. He's got really good fixtures coming up. Although I will say I do think West Brom's fixture is going to be harder than on paper, because West Brom have actually only conceded like 5 goals or something in the last 8 games. So they're going to be a lot harder than actually it says on paper. So what I will say is he's going to be an excellent pick, but maybe not this weekend. I just think it's going to be a tougher fixture. But I think the big thing about Ian Nacho is a lot of people are talking, saying, oh yeah, but Jamie Vardy's a flat track bully. He's going to eventually come good and he's going to batter Ian Nacho. But I really don't see, of course, that logic is based on FPL history. And of course, nobody will be surprised if Jamie Vardy scores 5 goals in the next 4 games. But when you're looking at underlying stats, you look at the eye test and you actually look at the output, every single one directs you to Ian Nacho. And importantly, he has both the price and the ownership better than Vardy. So I see no reason why to bring in Vardy right now, unless you are really just making the assumption that he's going to become what he used to be. So I think Ian Nacho is an excellent pick. And if you guys are looking for an option for the next 4 or 5 game weeks, I would definitely be targeting him, because you haven't missed the boat on him. The fixtures are still excellent.
Yeah, I think you are absolutely spot on. I don't think there's any point going for Vardy. I think he scored 2 goals in 18 games or something. I think he's well off it. I think Ian Nacho is the man in form, half the price, and he's, the risk with Iheanacho is he going to be benched? There's no way he's being benched in this form. He's just not. He's the one putting in the goals. It's just not going to happen. And I think when a player is in this form and they have the fixtures, you just bring them in. Keep the game simple. So I think if you don't own Iheanacho, he's a must right now. So
yeah, I totally agree.
I mean, talking of segues, you mentioned it there. We need to talk about West Brom because what's going on there? I mean, just a game or two ago, they beat that team called Chelsea. I mean, that was hilarious.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, like it's one of those things really where I saw somebody online put a bet on West Brom to beat Chelsea, and I was like, "What are you doing?" It was crazy odds, but when you actually look at it, Chelsea only had one game to prepare for that game. West Brom under Allardyce had a week. It shouldn't have been as surprising as it was. Obviously, the scoreline was ridiculous, but like when you actually take a team and they've only had one game to prepare, and another team, a professional team, had a week to prepare with the likes of Allardyce in charge, then things like that can happen. And I think he's starting to work his classic Allardyce magic. But I think it's going to be a trickier game, as I mentioned previously, than it looks on paper for Leicester, because they are another team who have so much to play for. Allardyce is the sort of guy who's going to be grinding out results. Even if he doesn't win them, he's going to make it tough for teams. So, yeah, I'm not telling anybody to bring in West Brom assets because, yeah, they've turned into Barcelona the last 2 game weeks, it looks like. But I think this is more a case of playing teams who have not as much to play for, the likes of Southampton, for example.
I think the key with West Brom is that I believe he's put Pereira in the centre position. And I think that's made all the kind of difference. It's a shame in a way that he didn't do that sooner because they probably would have had a better chance of staying. I don't think they will stay up, but fair play, they're doing well. And like you said, they are a difficult fixture right now. You kind of wouldn't really want to play them.
No, not at all. Not at all. Would you say Pereira is an option for people to consider, or is that sort of asset where you really need to have a bit of balls to bring him in?
You do have a bit of balls. I mean, it's a difficult one because I think the problem is that there's so many midfielders to pick from at the moment. You have your kind of must-haves, your Fernandes, your Sons, your Lingards, but then you've got players like Mount, you've got players, I mean, I know Rafinha's out, but going forward, Rafinha, Pereira. If you do want a differential, why not? But there is a lot of better picks there as well.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of chat, actually. Nuclear Atoms, James Burrows has mentioned about Maddison, how that might affect the Leicester team going forward with Iheanacho. Any thoughts in there in particular, mate? Because it is definitely one to consider as an Iheanacho owner about the rotation, possibly.
It's definitely one to monitor, but I think Barnes is more of a risk to Iheanacho than Maddison is. I think with Maddison being the creator, he tends to play a little bit further behind. So I think Maddison for Iheanacho is okay. I think when Barnes comes back, that's when we're going to have to worry a little bit and see how that one, goes out. But for the next few weeks, I think he's fine. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think when a guy's in that sort of form, you just don't drop him.
All right, so shall we have a look at how our teams are set up for this week and our transfer plans and what we're going to do?
Yes, let us have a little look.
Okay, so this is my team. So currently about 50k. Obviously used the wildcard a week ago. I have to say, I was really happy with the wildcard. And it's nice, we had that discussion about, do you think it's too template? But it really worked, didn't it? It really came through. I actually have to say I'm pretty happy with the team right now. It won't be that case in 2 or 3 weeks. But team looks good. I mean, all right, here's a question for you. I mean, I know you talked about it in your video earlier in the week, but Chelsea defensively, what are we thinking?
Yeah, I still think they're excellent assets, obviously. I think prior to the West Brom game, Chelsea had the best underlying stats, best output, didn't concede a home goal prior to that West Brom game. So on paper, I still think they are excellent assets. However, I think managers that are doubling up right now probably just need to tread a little bit carefully in the coming game week. So I still think they're solid holes. They've got Brighton at home, West Ham away, and Fulham at home. But of course, we're starting to juggle little things. We've got the semi-final of the Carabao Cup. FA Cup. One of the Cups.
FA.
Obviously got the semi-final of the Champions League coming up. And then we go into, after the Fulham at home, we got Man City away, then Arsenal, then Leicester. So I think managers definitely need to start having a plan in advance to come off double Chelsea defence, because although I still rate them, I still think they're probably the second best defence, if not the best defence of the league statistically. I think there's probably going to be better options at the back end of the season where you could maybe have a bit more FPL potential. And I think the likes of maybe cheaper options in the Arsenal defence could be a nice sideway move for managers going forward. So although I like Chelsea, still solid defence. I would, if you had a double up, I would start to veer away just a little bit.
I also really like Dallas as a pick for the final few weeks because it's just because of his attacking potential. I've not owned Dallas all season; it's killed me. But I could see like maybe a Diaz or a Rudiger to Dallas move in a week or two for those Leeds fixtures at the end of the season that are really good. So you are right; he is a player that can move.
And guys in the chat, please let me know if anyone else got burnt by Dallas coming off the bench in their mini leagues. I know I did big time.
I mean, talking to Chelsea fan, tips in evening tips. Let's stay on Chelsea a minute. I guess we've spoke about the Chelsea defence, but Chelsea midfield, right? Nacho, you need to tell us who is the player we should be going for. I mean, it changes every week.
It's such a tricky one right now because we got such top assets. Obviously, we're currently playing a front three of Pulisic, Mount, and Havertz. Werner and Ziyech on the bench, like these two world-class players on their day. So it's a real difficult situation right now because, as I mentioned, we've got real important games coming up. So we're not sure how Tuchel's going to approach them, whether he thinks that he can get multiple games out of players over multiple weeks or not. So right now, I think I wouldn't necessarily be jumping into the Chelsea attacking assets, unless you are really looking for a differential. So we spoke about it week in, week out, and I know you've been a big fan of him, Prince. Is Mason Mount. I think if you're looking for guaranteed, well, not even guaranteed minutes, but we know that Mount is Tuchel's main man, really, in the attacking front. So I think Mason Mount for minutes and still stats are very good. But I think a lot of people are looking at Havertz and Pulisic. I'll rule Werner and Ziyech off. Like, they're not at all going to be favourable as opposed to the other two. So Havertz and Pulisic should be my two. Both priced at the same sort of price bracket. And I really think you just roll a dice, really, because I think either one could both get rotated or go off. It's that difficult right now to predict the Chelsea assets. And I think you got to be in a sort of position right now where maybe your rank is sat not where you want it, where you want to go for a real differential. Then I'll definitely go for Pulisic or Havertz. But otherwise, if you're at a rank where you're fighting for like top 10k, I would avoid Chelsea assets, I think. Just because it's so unpredictable right now.
Yeah. And it sounds like because of the fixtures, you think the fixtures are going to be a little bit too tricky.
Yeah, I think a tricky-ish fixtures. Obviously, we got Brighton's never an easy game, and then of course we've got West Ham away. They're not necessarily good defensively right now, but Man City away in a couple of game weeks, and then we go to tricky games. So you will be bringing them in probably the next 3 games, but then it's going to be tough fixtures into the back end of the season. But I know a lot of people are talking about Pulisic. Really like him. He was so good at this time last season. So if he can find that form again, which he is currently, I think he could be a great asset. But again, I would just tread carefully on the likes of the Pulisic and Havertz. I just think they're a little bit riskier rotation.
Yeah, good advice, Nacho, I think. But yeah, I mean, going back to the team, I feel pretty happy with it this week. Do you know what? I don't see the need to make a transfer. I've got Kane, got Son. I guess I have a slight issue about my bench again. Obviously, I had Vidra who scored. That pick came through as well.
Did you play
No,
Vidra?
I benched him first. Really frustrating. But yeah. He's there for the next game week when the blanks happen. I guess Holding is the one I'm not. If I could play Holding, I would. But who are you going to take out of that? I don't see. I fancy United against Burnley. If Diaz plays, I mean that should be a clean sheet against Villa. Rudiger, I mean you've got to back Chelsea against Brighton. You've got to play all the attackers. I think that is the starting lineup I've got to go with. What do you think?
Yeah, I think you're in a tricky situation right now because you could easily be sat, like Rob Holding picked up 2 bonus points, of course, in the previous game week. So I'm looking at this team right now, and I do think you could be in that situation where you just have to suck it up and accept if Holding gets a clean sheet, then so be it. But I think, of course, Diaz, this is one of the reasons why I didn't bring him in. It's just because when I would own a Man City asset, I would just be worried about the importance Pep puts on the Champions League. And obviously, just going forward, he's going to just start be focusing on that semi-final, cup final, semi-final. He's got so much to prepare for. That's where their key assets do become so important. But what we'll say is the Leeds defeat was a blessing in disguise for managers because he is going to be starting he can't have back-to-back league defeats. And Villa are still a tricky team. put a really good contest up against Liverpool. So I think Diaz will be a regular feature until this league's wrapped up. So I would agree with your lineup because I still fancy Man City against Villa.
See, the reason I've picked my wildcard this way is I feel okay with the reason I picked Diaz is I don't think, he is going to be bench or right, but I don't think he's going to come on at the end. So that's why I'm quite happy having, a player like Holding first on my bench, because if Diaz doesn't play, I'd be very happy with Holding coming on. And I feel really happy with, the squad balance and the value spread out. So yeah, I'm happy with my team. I can't complain. 50k. As like an aim, and I'd be interested to know people in the chat, what's your aim? Where are you currently and where would you like to rank? I'm currently 50k. I would like to get in the top 20k, but I feel like maybe realistically it's going to be the top 30k. You're obviously top 10k. Where would you like to be?
One.
I love it, Nacho. Come on, the FPL fan show.
No, who doesn't want to finish first? They know. Obviously left myself a little bit of grind to catch up, but I think the way the game's going right now, there's so much content available. Managers getting better each year. I think if a top 10k will be an unbelievable achievement, I'll be absolutely delighted with that, because I think the game's getting so much more knowledgeable. Managers are becoming so much more knowledgeable that a top 100k finish, for example, years gone by, people would have sniggered at that. I think that is a great achievement for managers. So those in the chat right now, no matter what your rank is, obviously just keep persevering and don't perceive like, 100k is a bad finish, because that I can guarantee is a good finish in such a tricky year as well. We have to remember how tough this year has been to kind of go with. So
honestly,
yeah, 10k. If I get top 5k, I'll be delighted. But equally, the way it's going right now, obviously we might have a double game week in 35 or 36 or whatever, with the fixtures being rearranged. So who knows what's going to be happening in the future.
I think people underestimate top 100k is an absolute fantastic finish in a game that's played by 8 million people, and that so many of them are active these days, and it's getting bigger every year. So just if you can get top 100k, you've done fantastic. And everyone has off seasons, so just don't worry about it. But yeah, no, thankfully we're doing pretty right. I'll take where we are at the moment.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, that would be a nice. Little finish. And sorry to blow my own trumpet here, but Newclass has just mentioned about a certain Mr. Lacazette. Please, can someone in the chat just confirm that they read the FPL fan favourites last week and brought in Lacazette? Because I may have made a cheeky call on him doing well and obviously got the brace. So I just hope that helped one manager in their mini league. But obviously, I respect if nobody trusted that one.
I have to say, our FPL fan favourites picks are going nuts. We have nailed it so far. So let's hope we have another good week. Yeah.
Yes, fingers crossed. Yes, but the chat here about Alex mentioned about finishing first series season, finishing top 100k. Fantastic. That'd be awesome. Yeah, that'd be brilliant. That'd be so good if you could do that. Honestly, that'd be awesome.
All right, Nacho. So let's have a look at your team. Okay. Do you want to run us through your thoughts?
Yes. So I'm in I've ended up with quite a similar team to yourself. Obviously, I don't have Diaz and Shaw, but I have Fofana. I really liked. I think we were joking about possibly keeping him fit, but I looked at the fixtures and I really did like Leicester's fixtures going forward, although I don't like owning centre-backs who have no attacking potential. Fofana ticks that box. So I've kind of contradicted myself there a little bit. But yeah, I like my team right now. This is how I'm currently set up. So for those who didn't know, I ended up avoiding Fernandes and bringing in Sterling. So I never had any ownership in Fernandes since game week 27. So I had no money tied up. So I was buying him at his top price. So I kind of looked at it and thought, I have nothing to lose. I'm either bringing in Fernandes with a tricky-ish fixture, or I can just bring in a 1 week punt and then have the decision to go into Fernandes the following week. So I went with Sterling. On paper, I still justify that move. I think it was still a good pick. Obviously, it didn't pay off that time, but I'm currently in this situation. Sterling is going to be a difficult one for me because I knew this was going to happen. He wasn't going to be featuring in the Champions League, and I'm looking at an away Villa fixture where I know he's probably going to start, and I'm thinking, oh, this could be good. This could be good returns. But equally, we have Man United at home to Burnley, which looks an excellent fixture as well. So my current deliberation right now is, do I sell Sterling and bring in a Man United asset?
Do you regret that move of going Sterling over Fernandes on the wild card?
No, I really don't. And the only reason I say that is just because I had no ownership in Fernandes. If I had him at, 0.5 million cheaper, then for sure I would have kept him. But I was buying him at top price, and the way I was looking at it was I wasn't actually necessarily that trusting of him in that fixture, and the plan was always to go into him in game week 32. But I think there's some other options that we should be considering in the Man United team, and some real differentials. I do think that if managers are currently sat there without Fernandes, in a similar boat to myself, I would be tempted for the likes of Rashford or Greenwood. Now, I know it's a very dodgy move in the sense of ownership, but Fernandes' stats since Pogba's been in and just generally have not been at the same level that they were weeks gone by. And I do hold it that he's one of those assets that it could always go off at any point with penalties, like ridiculous assists. But I really do think this is a great opportunity for managers to go against the curve a little bit and possibly go for the likes of Greenwood.
Yeah, we spoke about, finding those differential players in this last bit of the season to get those kind of rises. I do really like Mason Greenwood. I think we had this with Greenwood at the latter part of last season. He's getting the minutes. He's a fantastic finisher. He's absolutely fantastic finishing on both feet as well. They're fighting for, I say they're fighting, they're pretty much going to get Champions League, but they're still playing like they want to play. I think Greenwood is a really good option. But I have to say, in your position, I think I probably would do the Sterling to Fernandes move just because Burnley's a decent fixture. Obviously, they play the next game week. I understand your difficulty there because Sterling hasn't played. They're going to get bounced back up against Villa. I think he will play, so that is tough. I mean, people in the chat, do you think Nacho should do Sterling to Fernandes or just leave it this week? I'd be interested to know what everyone thinks, but that is really tricky.
Yeah, I think especially it's quite an interesting situation as well, because I think a lot of managers in the FPL community forget that we're also competing in mini leagues and stuff. So you kind of got to think as well what your mini league's doing is as well. So you kind of got to balance it a little bit. Because I know a lot of managers in my mini league have Fernandes. So I understand the problem right now. You want to go a bit brave and go for the likes of Greenwood, but then you look at your mini league and think, like, there's a bit of a risk me not going without Fernandes. So yeah, a very interesting decision, and one that I'm a bit gutted I did do because it has made me want to hold Sterling when I think he's not going to do well.
Yeah, I think if I was 10k right now, I would probably bring in Fernandes because I know you've got your mini leagues as well, but it seems a safe thing to do. Boring but safe.
Yeah, that's exactly it. I think I say it's safe, isn't it? But I think sometimes safe is it's a reasonable move. And his ownership's so high. I think it's about 58%. So a goal from him is absolute killer on the rank. So yeah, I do think. But it'd be interesting, guys in the chat. Let me know. Would you go for Greenwood in my situation?
I can't believe you've ended up with Regulion in your side after all this.
It was meant to be. The stars aligned. It had to happen. If this guy gets, let's think about it right now. If they get a clean sheet, 6 points.
Well, I hope not, because they're playing Everton. So that will kill me twice. And actually, if he scores or does anything against Everton, you are so dead. You do not believe.
I'll tell you what. If Regulion gets 15 points in this double game week, I'm getting a Spurs shirt with his name on it.
Oh my God, that is going for it.
Big
okay, we'll see. I mean, I don't know how I feel about that now. Now they're playing Everton. All right.
Yeah, that's a good point. Save more.
I know. But yeah, I think your team looks good. You look well set for this week.
Yeah, and I think we touched on captaincy. I think a lot of people at FPL Penguins saying Kane seems a no-brainer. Yeah, I think that's going to be a lot of managers' thoughts right now. Kane just ticks all the boxes. Think he's a top pick for captaincy.
Definitely. All right, so shall we move on to my favourite part of the show, which is answering everybody's questions. So this is the Q&A. This is where you can send us questions and we will answer whatever you put. Okay, so people in the chat, let us know what questions you have, what issues you've got going to this game week, what players you want opinions on, and we will answer as many of them as we can.
Let's do it. We got an early one here from now. It's called I Am. That's it. I Am. Okay. So welcome, I Am. Thanks for the question. We got one saying, who to play this week, Holding, Rudiger or Masuaku? So just a reminder, Holding has Fulham at home. Rudiger's got Brighton at home. Masuaku has got Newcastle away. What I would say firstly, before you have your say, Prince, is Masuaku was quite actually a nice little pick. I didn't realise his price. I think it's decent, but what I would say is West Ham's defensive stats have fallen off a cliff a little bit over recent weeks. So just my 50 pence.
No, I think you're right, mate. He's done well. You did say a week or so before you was a good pick. I'm in this position with Holding. I would probably go Rudiger because I think Chelsea, I mean, stats-wise as well, say they're probably the most likely to keep a clean sheet. And then I would go Holding. And I think because West Brom are in such form playing West Ham, it seems to make sense. All right, so let's do some more questions. Okay, let's have a look. We've got... Okay. And Nuclear Atom says, make sure you eat some fresh pasta in the stream while eating a nacho. Yeah, we'll make sure Nacho eats pasta and nacho on the stream. I'll make sure that happens.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been letting people down on that one.
Okay, Alex says, who could I start alongside TAA and Rudiger? Soufal versus Newcastle, Holding versus Fulham, or Fofana versus West Brom? Mendy in goal. Thanks so much. Appreciated, fellas. What do you think, Nacho?
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah, so I think I wouldn't go Kufau against Newcastle, only reason being we've got the likes of St. Maximin and Callum Wilson back, and I mentioned about West Ham's defensive stats not necessarily being the best right now. So I think it's a straight shootout between Holding and Fofana. Now, both have got loads to play for, both Fulham and West Brom. So I think it's going to be a tricky game for both. Of course, Arsenal have the Europa League excursions, could be affecting them in the long run. But West Brom have scored 8 goals in 2 games. So I would probably just lean to Fofana, but... I think a straight shootout between those two. What's your thoughts, mate? I would probably just need to Fofana, but I like West Brom as a team as well. That's a difficult thing.
I think I would go with Holding because I think Fulham, attacking wise, they're an attacking team, but their conversion rate is not actually very good. And I think Lookman might be injured as well. Check up on that. But yeah, I think I would go Holding of the 3. Okay, Ada says, who should I move on this week between Aguero and Aubameyang?
I would move on Aguero. I would, yeah. I think it's one of those situations right now where a lot of people have brought in Aguero with the kind of like fairy tale kind of feeling towards him. But we have to be realistic here. Villa away, then he blanks, then Palace away, then Chelsea at home. Whereas when we look at Aubameyang, fixtures are Fulham at home, Everton at home, Newcastle away, West Brom at home. I think that's only a one winner there, isn't it, really?
No, I think you're right, mate. Do you want to... Okay, so Nuclear Atoms. Should I use triple captain chip on Kane or save it for a later double game week? I think you should use it this week on Kane, but it is a tough one.
Yeah, obviously the possible double fixtures coming up with them introducing fans back into the stadium could pose more double game weeks. But again, it's very much going to be a scenario where predicting it in the future, I think we know we have got Kane in a double. Go with the triple captain, I think.
Do you want to read some out?
Yeah, we got one from FPL Tips. Don't own Bruno or Lingard. Which would you bring in this game week?
I think you actually got to go Lingard because of the form. I think because, like you said, Bruno, because his stats have dropped off a little bit since Pogba's returned, he's just not quite as good. I think Lingard, because he's bracing pretty much every game, I think you got to go Lingard. Sounds mad, but I think you do.
Wow, yeah, big shout, yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think we spoke about, obviously, Fernandez's ownership is massive. I would say that this is probably one of those scenarios where if you want to be a bit brave, I don't really think there's many West Ham alternatives. I like Bowen. I think Bowen's a decent pick with Antonio's absence, but you could go for a bit of a combo where you go for Lingard and then potentially the likes of Greenwood and the Man United attacking. So you balance it that way maybe a little bit. That could be a solid move. But yeah, I think it's one of the straight shootouts where if you're scared of Fernandez, you just go for that safe move.
All right, keep reading them out, Nacho. Let's fire through them.
Yes, let's do it. So Gabriel's asked Bale or Greenwood in the long run.
I would go Greenwood. I think Bale's an absolute no-go at the minute.
Yeah, I agree. We got one from Michael Davis as bench 1, Holding, Trent or Azpilicueta.
Jeez, that is hard. Oh my god.
I would probably bench Holding
because he has the least attacking potential, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I would just go for that one, and I think Trent, obviously, when he scores, that's just made everybody's hair stand up a little bit, hasn't it?
It has. Okay, Nuclear Atoms, bench Diaz against Villa or Trent against Leeds? Ooh.
I would probably bench Diaz, I think.
Because Trent's just attacking stats are just so good at the minute, aren't they?
I think that's fair shout. We got one from Gonzalo's asked, would you play Azpilicueta or Rudiger? Only one slot for Chelsea.
I mean, it's a good one for you, but I'd say Azpilicueta, much more attacking potential again than Rudiger.
Yeah, obviously Rudiger had a header cleared off the line, but that's not something to judge on. No goals this season, so I think Azpilicueta is the better pick there. And there's something about FPL Tips mentioned about Aubameyang and malaria.
Okay.
Didn't realise that at all. So that's a great shout there. Yeah, obviously that kind of changes things a little bit. So if that is the case, then we obviously change his plan a little bit.
So Gundogan, this James Bowers asked, Gundogan replacement for the long term, 7.3 million budget. Who do you go for?
Well, I think if you haven't got Lingard already, I think that's a solid pick. We mentioned Greenwood. I think he's a really good pick, and he'll be within price bracket. So solid pick there. I like them too. Otherwise, outside of that, then we spoke about Mason Mount. He could be a good pick going forward. I think he's within the price bracket, has okay fixtures going forward. Outside of that, would the likes of Saka maybe at Arsenal? He could be a shrewd pick, but otherwise, I would probably not look outside those.
I think I would go with those as well. Rafinha in a couple of weeks, but not yet.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, we have got a question. I might have to scroll back a minute. I think we've caught up on the things.
I think we're all good, Nacho. Like we're through.
I think we're done.
We're flying through them. Yeah, no, definitely. But yeah, no, there's some really, really good questions in there. As well said, I think you mentioned in the FPL fan favourites ask. I think Jared Bowen is a good shout as well.
Yeah, I really do like him. He's gone under the radar a little bit. He's been really decent last few game weeks. If you own him, then you have to understand that he doesn't play 90 all the time. He's only played 90 last 2 out of 12 games. But I think he's a top pick. Underlying stats are really good, and he's going to play with Antonio missing.
All right, so I think we'll wrap up there. It was a quick one this week. I think it's going to be a tricky game week next game week, so I think there'll be a lot of talking points. But yeah, I think things are good. Thank you everyone for sending in your questions. We really appreciate it. Obviously, if you have any more, just send them over on social. We'll answer them. And final thoughts, Nacho?
No, thanks again for everyone tuning in. It's been a good one. I think, as we mentioned, it's going to be quite a tricky game week with certain fixtures and obviously rotation risks, but hopefully we can fire on this double game week and Kane gets triple hat-trick.
Well, very quickly answer Greg's question. Keep KB one more week or to get Bruno or Lingard in this game week for a -4. Go on, Nacho. What do you think?
Oh, KDB one more game. I think KDB will probably play this game week. I think he needs to play in this fixture, so I would probably hold him for one more. I think
I'd hold as well. Yeah. All right, so thank you everyone. We will be back next week. I'll try and get the time out earlier. Sorry for being a little bit late tonight. And we'll be back soon. I hope everyone has a fantastic game week. Say goodbye, Nacho.
Yes, guys.
Bye, guys. See you next time.